Hello, hello, hello. This is Gresh from the I Am CEO podcast, and I have a very special guest on the show today. I have John Heck of the Heck Law Firm, PLLC. John, it's great to have you on the show.
Gresh, so much. Thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it. It's great to be here.
Definitely. I appreciate you for taking some time out. And before we jumped into the interview, I want to read a little bit more about John so you can hear about all the awesome things that he's doing. And attorney John W. Heck's estate planning practice focuses on helping families enhance their lives today and secure their futures tomorrow. His legal experience includes family protection, wealth preservation, and values-based planning, as well as planning strategies for unmarried couples and divorced individuals. Basically, his law firm can help you craft a great estate plan, preserve your legacy, whether you are married or single, have a traditional family or blended one, or just starting out and looking back on a life well lived. John graduated from American University, Washington School of Law, and went to college at the U.S. Air Force Academy. And in his legal practice, John has worked as a law clerk, has argued before a federal appellate court, and represented individuals and families in a variety of matters for over a decade. John has chosen to concentrate on the trust and estates area because he is passionate about helping families create happy and secure futures. And he is also a published legal scholar and served in the Air Force for over 30 years. Thank you for your service, and retiring in the rank of colonel. Most importantly, John is a husband to his incredible wife, Umsa, and a father of 3 children, Evie, Carolyn, and Henry. John, great to have you on the show. Thank you again for taking some time out. Are you ready to speak to the IMCO community?
I would love to, Gresh. Thanks for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for doing all the phenomenal work. And to kind of kick start everything, I wanted to rewind the clock a little bit, hear a little bit more on how you got started, what I call your CEO story.
All right, how I got started. I've always been interested in law. As a career officer, I kind of saw the importance of rules. My background actually is as a pilot. When I was in my 20s, I started flying. And so that became just a rules-based world. My father is an attorney. And then about 10 years into flying, I really wanted to switch over. That seems like forever ago. It was over 20 years ago now. Moved to DC. I was fortunate enough to get into a good law school, and then kept it going. Right. The journey has been more of a learning one. Even now, as a owner of my own law firm, I still feel like I'm in a lot of ways still a student. Right. I'm not sure you ever truly master a craft because it always is changing and evolving. But yeah, I tried the big law, but it wasn't really giving me the ability to help the clients in the way that I wanted to, and that personal touch. It was more about the billable hour and the transaction. And I didn't really want people to become a number. So I decided to branch out, start my own firm, and reinvigorate it as an estate planning firm. And that, in my view, is really the best way to help something with a topic that really most of us, pretty much all of us need, right? None of us are immortal, but most of us don't have plans in place. And it really can help people, like you just said, off my bio. I mean, for generations, it can really preserve your family wealth and your legacy. So hopefully that helps.
Yeah, it definitely helps a tremendous amount. And I love, what you were talking about. Like, we all kind of feel like we're constantly learning. And I think there's like a quote, the more you learn, the more you realize that you don't know.
Right,
and it seems like we're always on that journey of learning more and more and more, and trying to be masters on top of masters of our craft. So I love that you have that kind of mindset and ability. And I imagine that translates into what it is that you do. But you're absolutely right, where a lot of times, you hear stories, and they're kind of heartbreaking stories of people that don't have those things set in place when, I hate to say the inevitable happens, but like you say, where none of us are immortal, but having those things in place before the inevitable sometimes happens is how you kind of can set up yourself, but also your family and your future generations, as you said so well.
So yes, that's a great point. And it can be a little uncomfortable. I do webinars, I do presentations, and I try to keep it light on what can really, in reality, be kind of a heavy topic, obviously. Yeah. But it's a topic that is just part of the human experience. And we're all human, and we all have the same, we start kind of out the same, we all kind of finish the same. And it's good to have a plan for I would say for every stage of life, you need a plan. From the kids, for your education, how you have a family, how you raise that family, and then how you kind of spend your golden years. And also, unfortunately, we live in a world where things change very, very quickly, as basically the planet learned a year and a half ago how fast things can change and how fast things can move. So having that plan for something that does impact all of us is really a critical part. And I find the more I educate and teach, it really, you can see the light bulb comes on and people are like, wow, yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. And now I really understand it. And that's why I get really passionate about what I do, because it does help families really, so it really helps families celebrate life. People think it's planning for death, but I would say planning for death helps you celebrate your life, because you know that if anything happens, it's covered. You don't have to go to bed at night and wonder what happens if I'm not up. It's done. Your kids are cared for. You know what's going to happen. You've got everything set in motion already. And then you can just kind of enjoy and focus on the things that life's all about.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And I think that's a phenomenal, kind of perspective to look at it as, celebrating life, because I think so many times there's a weight that sometimes we can have if, this happens or that happens, like what will be the domino effect from that. But I love that you have those webinars, have those opportunities to kind of teach people. And I don't know if you would use the word empower them so that they can feel a little bit less weight and more control over those things that'll happen, after, the fact, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, Gretchen, and I love you use the word empower. That's the same word I use, so I would absolutely
Okay.
use that word. I view my role as threefold: to educate, inform, and empower families to make the choices that are right for them. I view my role as a lawyer not as selling a legal product, but as a consultant. We'll bring in clients all the time, or potential clients all the time, and say, I'm going to show you what your plan is right now, and I'm going to show you what I believe might be or at least what the law says, and what I might believe is the best path for you, although you will ultimately pick that, of course. But if you're happy with what you have, then it's been a great session, and let me know if you need anything in the future, because the goal is to get those plans in place, not to sell a product. And empowered and informed clients are the best possible clients. I know lawyers do this. They'll give a discount for educated clients that really walk in and they kind of understand the system and they understand what they're looking for, because it's an area login that applies to everyone. But without, so many people think, well, if I have a will, I'm good, which is one of the furthest things from the truth. Although will is certainly an important document, and that's not a reflection on them. It's a reflection on kind of the misinformation that's out there, and they're just not informed. They just don't understand that system. And so big part of what I do is just to get them there, to get them to understand the system and what it is they're getting into, that we all get into. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as you were kind of explaining that too, what was like coming to my mind is probably right along the same lines, is that, knowledge is definitely that power. And as you said, there's a misinformation. People, sometimes you don't know what you don't know. And I think to be able to lean on the expertise and the different solutions that you have is absolutely huge, to be able to, again, have that peace of mind, but at the same time, also be able to set up yourself and your family, your future generations. And so I know you touched on a little bit on how you work with your clients. Is there anything more that you can kind of expand upon to kind of add and inform us about like how that goes and what that process looks like?
No, I'd love to. So we start off with an initial 15-minute consultation at no cost. And what that consultation does is it just gets me a sense of what's different about you and your family. Have you had experience with probate before? The court process, for the viewers who may not know, although most probably do, is for those who die, is called probate. That is the legal system by which we look at an estate, right? And everything people have worked for their whole lives and how that's going to be handled after they pass. So, some people know what probate is, some don't. I just get a sense of who they are and what they're looking to do. And then I explain our process. Ours is a little more comprehensive. We're pretty different than a lot of lawyers. Our process takes about 2 months to complete from start to finish. You'll start off with what's called a family wealth planning session. And that's a 2-hour session, which does require some work from the client first. They have to kind of tell me what they have, and so I can get a better look at their estate. And then it helps them, but it also helps them get really financially organized. A lot of people would be surprised to learn, a lot of people don't know what they have. Like, people just don't know what they own. We all kind of go through life and maybe we get a house here, or we pick up this thing here, and we all kind of piece it, but it's rare that people will step back and take a holistic look at every aspect of their financial life and their legacy. And so that session really helps them get maybe better organized than they've ever been before. It's a 2-hour working session. We bill that session at $750, but if the client agrees to do their homework, we call the homework in advance, and then also show up and not cancel last minute, then the session is at no charge. So they get 2 hours with a lawyer to do that at no charge. And during that process, we'll explain if they wanted to move forward, what kind of plan we could build for them. And that's going to vary from person to person. Once we agree and we design that plan for them, if they agree to work with us, then we do a signing ceremony a month after that. And that's where the plan is legally active and in place. But then we do a second meeting a month after that, roughly. That's what makes it for the 2 months, where we ensure that the plan works. And we also conduct what I think is it's non-legal, but it's probably one of those powerful parts of our process, what's called a life and legacy interview. where we also spend time interviewing and we capture the values and the experiences that have made them kind of who they are. We say your kids aren't going to put a copy of the will on the nightstand to remember you, but they will remember your legacy, who it was that made you do it. And if you do it right, we can interview, like for my own plan, I did my grandmother, my mother. And so my kids who are younger now have 100 years of family history recorded. And when they're 30 or 40, they can really get a sense of their identity through that. And so that's part of how we capture that total estate. And we think that's a really great process and a way to do that. Having said that doesn't end after 2 months. It's an estate plan, like any plan, is an ongoing process. And we do free reviews of your plan every 3 years. We think 3 years is kind of the minimum you should look at it, because life changes, laws change, situations change, people move, that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, I appreciate you going, in depth through, that process as well too. And I love that you said that so often. And I think we can say that as business owners, as individuals, that we kind of zoom through life, and you don't create that space and that time to kind of even look at what you've accomplished, what you have, what are potential assets, but also too, just like what and why we're doing it. Like, what does that legacy look like? Why are we working so hard? Why are we continuing to kind of chop at the tree, so to speak? And I think creating that space and time is absolutely huge. So I love that that's part of your process and your strategy. And I think it's definitely something that we all need to be reminded of, taking it into account. And so you might have already touched on this, but would you consider that process to be part of what I like to call your secret sauce, the thing you feel kind of sets either you as an individual apart or the business apart and makes it unique?
I really would. We don't bill by the hour. Everything's flat fee. So when you pay us that flat fee, it's really kind of unlimited phone calls. And I think that sets us apart too. Again, we're there to empower families to make the right choices and to get the best plan in place for them individually. And I do think that's part of our secret sauce. So many lawyers, and I've had multiple plans done through the military, it's been years, but, and I look back at those plans and none of them would have done what I wanted it to do. Right. But they were legally valid documents. They were, and it would have had to gone before a judge, and it would have dragged my family through the ringer. And it would have taken at least a year to kind of resolve everything. And that's not the kind of plan I want to do for any client, really. I want them to have that peace of mind, knowing that what they set in place will happen in the event of their incapacity or in the event of their death. And they'll, as if they were standing there making their own decisions. And they know that whatever happens, what they want to happen will in fact happen. And I really think that's what sets us apart from most law firms, which they bill by the hour and they're a transactional model. They go, you pay us for documents, here's your documents. You may not understand the documents, but they're there. You may read them and maybe there's some legalese in there and maybe you get it, maybe you don't. You want to call a lawyer to ask questions? Okay, that 2-minute phone call will cost you 15 minutes of my billable hour time. So maybe you don't want to call anymore. And maybe you're a little nervous because you don't want to get a bill a month later for $100 for a 30-minute phone call, right? So that's really, I think, what sets us apart, is that very user-friendly approach that we try to take with every client, because each family is unique. Each one has their own different needs and desires. So.
Yeah, it's great that you recognize that. And I say so often that we have our products and services, we have our numbers, we have our revenue, all these different things that, play a part into what we do and how we do it. But I say so many times we forget about that human aspect of business. So I love that you kind of have dialed into that, especially during what might be somewhat of an uncomfortable conversation, to be able to give people some awareness of what the process looks like, even the pay feature, like all those things, I imagine allow people to just be present, to be able to kind of take care and answer those questions, because they don't have to worry about all those additional things on top of trying to get their affairs and everything in order as well too. So I love that you have that, as part of your secret sauce.
Thanks.
Absolutely. And so I wanted to switch gears a little bit, and I want to ask you for what I call a CEO hack. So this could be like an app, a book, or a habit that you have, but what's something that makes you more effective and efficient?
So that's another great question. I love your questions, by the way.
Thank you.
There's two. So the first one is, it's kind of, you should always dedicate yourself to lifelong learning. We kind of hinted at that a little bit earlier. But reading some books on legacy planning, I swear I'm just becoming such an estate planning nerd. It seems like all I do is read more and read more, because again, there's so much to learn. There's a book out there for your viewers if they're interested in it, by a now retired lawyer named James E. Hughes Jr. And his first book was very, very influential on me. It's called Family Wealth. And it's subtitled Keeping It in the Family. And his concept, which is what I've really rolled into this firm, is again, it's that wealth plus the legacy, but he talks about multiple families that keep wealth in the family and grow it for hundreds of years. And when it fails, why it fails. The Pabst fortune was lost after, I think, 5 generations because of essentially internal management in the family. And when you view the family as kind of that business, he talks about annual family meetings. One of the things that kills families is keeping too many secrets, so they can't work as a group to really make sure that those things are passed along. And then he tells a lot of success stories, but he really walks you through that model of why do you do a will, why do you do a trust, and how do you get internally inside your family to really build that legacy. And I've always viewed that as kind of the gold standard for our estate plans. The estate plans we do are foundational, right? That's kind of the minimum. And you can use that to build anything you want once you get that foundation built, just like in your house, right? The other thing that I would say is part of the critical development is that you're not in it alone. I became involved with a group of lawyers. It's over about 300 of us nationwide that practice this way, which is a relatively small fraction. I hope it grows because I love this model. And it's run by a woman named Alexis. She goes by Allie, but Allie Katz, K-T-Z. And she started what's called the New Law Business Model, which is a relationship model where the lawyer becomes really your personal family lawyer, where you should just feel comfortable having a phone, or you can pick up and call, asking questions about your plan and what you think they should do at not at billable rates. So that kind of old school where you have that lawyer and having her and having a group of people that are all in the same mindset has been really critical. Coaching calls, having the network, reaching out, and you may think you're alone, but you're not. And then a lot of people have the same questions, the same concerns, and how do they best serve their clients? So having that ability to reach out and keep the network alive has been absolutely key. I could not get as far as I have, or even much farther, without others supporting it. And I'll never forget one of my favorite motivational speakers, Zig Ziglar, said, to get what you want in life, you have to have other people get what they want in life. And so we're all kind of building each other up. And that has been an absolutely crucial component.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's a great reminder. I often say, success is a team sport. And I think that, as you
Really
said so well, like so many times we think that we have to go it alone. But I think if we're able to kind of create, that collaboration, that opportunity, those airwaves, so to speak, to communicate and to collaborate and figure out what works and what doesn't work, it's absolutely huge because it takes everybody, to the next level. So I absolutely love that. And I love that book about, learning, the things that people are doing right, as a family, but also the things that they didn't do as right, I should say,
right.
because that also provides a tremendous amount of information and knowledge to know how you can set yourself up for being successful. So I absolutely love, both of those hacks. And so I want to ask you now for what I call a CEO nugget. So this could be a word of wisdom or piece of advice. It might be something you would tell a client, or if you hopped into a time machine, you might tell your younger business self.
It's probably something I tell myself all the time is, as Winston Churchill said, never, never, never quit. Never, never, never quit. This journey, I love it. There are those who have told me, and I totally agree, that becoming a CEO and running your own business is as much a personal growth exercise as it is a business growth exercise. And it is so easy to quit. It's so easy to say, I'm not getting the clients. I don't understand all this, and then just give up. Don't do it. 95% of small businesses fail within the first, I think, year or 2 years, right? And I would argue a lot of that is just because they just didn't put the time in. I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's going to be up, it's going to be down. And I have resigned myself to the fact that some months I'm going to have great business, and some months I'm going to have not so great, maybe even no clients for a few weeks. And you have to build around that and understand that's part of the journey. But then keeping in mind that at the end of that journey, you can help so many people and give them peace of mind for so many families and make such a difference that quitting really is harmful to them, right? So I guess that's my little nugget is never, never, never quit. It's going to be hard. You're going to put in 15 hours a day all the time. You're going to get time away from the family. You got to get family buy-in. It's a family. Business is a family sport too. It's not just you, it's everybody. So, but yeah, and it's so tempting to just say, you know what, I just can't do this, and then doubt yourself, but have that confidence and never quit.
Yeah, rest if you must, but just don't quit is absolutely right.
Right. Exactly. Another good way to put it.
Exactly. No, I think you said it perfectly. And I think that so many times we don't realize the effect of the decisions that we make. But I love how you mentioned that it's not just us going through it. It's also our family members who we might be sacrificing time or energy, resources, whatever that might be from. But it's also reminding us of why we're doing what we're doing and the clients that we're serving. And by us not showing up, us not having a business, not, moving forward, we're also robbing the people that we could be helping as well too. So understanding just all of those ripple effects that happen, from us being a business, it can keep us, through sometimes the difficult times that will happen when you're running a business, because it is definitely a personal challenge as much as a business challenge. So I appreciate you for bringing that to light, because I think there's not enough information and people that are talking about that and the challenge that it is, but understanding that it's more of a marathon than a sprint.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. And wanted to ask you now my absolute favorite question, which is the definition of what it means to be a CEO. And we're hoping to have different quote unquote CEOs on the show. So John, what does being a CEO mean to you?
CEO to me is kind of the ultimate form of public service, in my view. Leaders don't build followers, leaders build other leaders. Mm-hmm. And running a company, people can look to you on how to do it and then themselves improve their lives. I feel like the higher you go, and I'm not saying I'm high by any means, but I have worked with some CEOs and CFOs in my career. And I feel like what that really does is give you the opportunity to broaden your scope of how you can help others. So I'll talk about my wonderful wife, Amsa, for just a minute, but she is a C-suite executive at a nonprofit that deals with mental health. If I can say, it's called Every Mind, and she does a great job with them. But on her watch, what she's found is the longer she works, she can open up and actually help serve others who are in need on a larger scale. And I would argue even potentially save lives, right? If people are having a mental health crisis, then that work that she does can now impact hundreds or thousands versus, 10 or 20 as a call center person or whatever it is. And there's nothing against it. All jobs are important, right? But as a CEO, when you have that vision, if people can do that buy-in, you really can help so many more people. So it's the best way. And again, it's not easy and it's a lot of work and you got to educate yourself nonstop. But if you can get there and put in that time, you can really make so much more change to really help other people out, which in today's world, that's not a small thing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love, that definition and that perspective as well, too. And talking about what we were talking about with the ripple effect, a lot of times when you have that title, and of course we can make ripple effects no matter what, position or opportunity we have. But as you get and create more and more leaders, the dominoes start to increase and you start to see more and more influence based off the actions you take or sometimes that you don't take. So I love that you kind of articulated that, because we start to see that the decisions, the impact, the business that we're in doesn't just impact us, doesn't just impact our families or even the team members that we have around us. It really can make a huge impact and dent in society. So I appreciate you and you talking about your wife as well too, and all the awesome work that she's doing as well, because I think that puts it all in perspective of why we do what we do.
Right. That's really it. Yeah. And together we really can make the world a better place. We really can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but it's small. It may be small changes. You can't change 7 billion, 8 billion people all at once, but small changes all together, we can do it.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why we call it a marathon. So it definitely takes time. It doesn't happen and just lacing up your shoes, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So I would thank you so much, John, for that perspective. And what I wanted to do is just pass you the mic one more time, just to see if there's anything additional that you can let our readers and listeners know. And of course, how best they can get a hold of you and find out about all the awesome things you're doing.
Yeah, again, thank you so much for this time. I love sharing this with your audience. It's a great message from you, great message, hopefully for those who are interested in estate planning. I guess to those listening, I would say for anyone who's interested in getting a good plan, what it really does is when you can't be there, which is probably at the worst possible time for your family and your loved ones, right? They're already going to go through so much if they lose you or you're in the hospital. Don't let them then have to go to court. Don't let them then get in conflict with each other. Make sure you have something in place, whether it's through me, another estate planning attorney. Don't rely on just documents. Understand what the documents do and make sure it's what you would want to do. Get that memorialized, get it in place, and have some way to preserve your legacy, because estate planning at the end of the day is not about you. It's about the people that you love the most. It's a gift to them. And having said that, I can help you. We can help you. Our law firm can help you get there. I'm licensed in Virginia and DC, and interestingly, New Jersey and Georgia as well. So I've got 4 states, and we have a broad network across the country that can help with this. To reach me personally, my email is John, that's JOHN, at estatelawva, so ESTATELAWVA.com. So John at estatelawva.com. My website, if you want to learn more about what I do, is estatelawva.com, just like the email. And then my direct line for viewers who want to just give me a shout, it's 571-306-4466. Again, 571-306-4466. 15-minute consultations are free. 2-hour planning sessions are at no cost if you do the homework and you don't cancel last minute. So show up. That's the commitment I ask from potential clients, and we can go from there. So absolutely, please let me know how I can help anyone in your audience listening today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much again, John. We will have the links and information in the show notes. I appreciate and, love the work that you do. I love how you talked about it being a gift that you can give, especially during a very, frustrating, scary, so many different emotions happening during that time. To be able to provide that gift for your family and then for your legacy as a whole is absolutely huge. So I appreciate you reminding us of that, and of course for the work that you do. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Gresh. And thanks again for your time, and thanks for the listeners for tuning in. Appreciate it.